in studio with us Miss Milagros Romero, who is a sexual assault survivor. She experienced 9 years. She endured 9 years of sexual abuse during her adolescence, age years, and definitely want to talk to her about and enlighten listeners about signs, how they can protect their children, prevent their children from enduring such trauma, and give some tips, actionable tips that families can take, as well as inspire those who may be experiencing various trauma to keep moving and making it happen. So thanks for joining us, Milagros, and thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me here.
So I just want to, give you a moment to express or share with our listening audience what you feel is important regarding what you endured, and why you're here today, why you feel it's important to share your story.
Okay, well, good morning to everyone. I'm gonna say this, even though I say it every time. I have issues with my vocal cords, so you will hear my voice fluctuate, goes in, comes out, but hopefully you can understand everything I'm saying.
And this is one of the results of the sexual assault or the abuse you experienced during.
According to the doctors, they don't have a specific. According to psychologists and psychiatrists, they believe it's trauma that I suffered. So anyway, again, so I'm going to be sharing with you, and I'm not going to be very specific. All or most of my stories are in the book. And then I also have a page, the Muted Cage, where you can go and find out information. I even have an interview, one of my sisters, Catalina, she interviewed me, and it was difficult having to face her and talk to her about my experience when her experience in the home was totally different.
And this was her father?
Yes. Okay, so I was physically abused by my mom, and the abuse caused me illnesses in my body because I have a broken tailbone that healed crooked. So it caused me to have 1.5 inches off. So there are times that I'm walking fine and all of a sudden something moves, or I don't know exactly, I can't explain it. But I could be sitting or walking and all of a sudden I can't move properly. Sometimes it takes me weeks. Other times it takes me months before I can recover. I got a burn when I was 1 year old, and many things that happened, and I was not the only one that was being physically abused. Of course, my mother didn't see it as abusing us. That was her way of correcting us. Later in life, I found out that my mother had been abused herself physically. I never was clear about if she was assaulted or abused sexually, but there is a very high probability that she was. And she suffered with bipolar disease, and she was manic depressive, and she had plenty medications to drink, which also affected the way she related to us at home. Then, another part of my life is that I was sexually molested by my stepfather for almost 9 years. It started early, and there are many things I couldn't really decipher exactly what was done to me, but a lot of it, when I was older, caused some real trauma in my life, to the point where sometimes I just closed my eyes and believed that I disappeared. I think one of the most traumatic things that happened is that my mom couldn't accept the reality of what was happening with me. And having my mother not being able to really accept the reality And I don't want to say take my sides because this is no sides.
No, but of course your mother, you would want your mom to support you and
Yes.
protect you from that.
Yes, but sometimes,
And
you know,
understand.
sometimes we want to say, "Oh, she didn't take my side." No. She, first of all, when I saw my mom, when I explained to her what was going on, she couldn't handle it. And we've heard many times that people say, "Well, you can't handle the truth," and that was happening with my mom. She just couldn't handle the reality for whatever reasons, and I think part of it was her own trauma. Anyway, that caused a horrible devastation in my life where I just felt like I was alone. I was trapped. I had no one that I can go and express myself with. I had no one that I could go and ask for help. Now, a lot of people say, "Why didn't you tell someone? Why didn't you ask for help?" I actually spoke to two ladies that were friends of my mom, and because they were friends and were very loving and compassionate, I thought that they would at least listen to me. One of them said, "Do not talk about that kind of stuff, because if your mother finds out, she's gonna hurt you." The other one said, "It happens to a lot of us. We just don't talk about these things."
Wow.
So, of course, you have this, and then a traumatic night that happened with my mom, where she had an inkling of what was happening, and she asked me, and couldn't handle the truth, and my stepfather left the home, and my mother just couldn't deal with it, and she gave me a terrible beating that night. So that left me with an understanding that there was no help, that there was no need to speak out, and that I was on my own, really, in this battle and this journey. And many times, women, and I don't want to say they refuse, sometimes there is something going on, which I'm hoping we can speak of later on, when we are judging people, when we don't understand where they are right now, what they have been through, and what has led them to act and react in the ways that they are right now. But anyway, where else do you want me to go with this?
So thank you for sharing. And a couple of things that you said, I just want to bring out further. You said it was two different types of abuse.
Yes.
So it's physical from your mom, sexual from your stepfather.
Yes.
And then when you did reach out, no one, first your mom didn't want to believe it.
Yes.
And then she couldn't handle, or didn't want to handle your stepfather leaving.
Yes.
So I guess we'll get into that, is that he returned actually.
Yes.
And it became worse because now
Now he has free reign.
Free reign, because your mother knew, and she still accepted him back.
Yeah.
And then when you went to try to speak to other individuals to get help,
Yeah.
in search of help, they stifled your expression of what happened,
Yes.
and then kind of dismissed your what you were enduring because that person or other people had experienced
Yes.
it. And so when people are asking me a lot of times, well, what is making it happen? You know, all of these things can turn someone suicidal, depressed. You know, you see these people on the side of the road that, you know, they're have mental issues. You know, all these things can stem from trauma in your life. And I definitely want to talk about the positive, because although you experienced all of that, you're here today, a very positive, strong, influential person who's taken her power back.
Yes.
You've written about your story. You're sharing it so that you can empower others.
Yes.
And educate individuals of how they could prevent it in their families. So I definitely wanted to highlight that. And thank you for sharing your story. And when we get back, and I want to have those phone lines open. I know it's a sensitive topic, and so I encourage individuals to call in about it, or you know, share your thoughts
And
on the conversation.
I'm not afraid or shy away from any questions. I sometimes just don't go into heavy details, but I'm willing to ask any questions they do ask.
Definitely. So we encourage the others, anyone who's listening, to call in and share in the conversation. Add to it. I want to say share, add to it, your thoughts. I do want to say that even though last week we didn't get calls, a lot of people did approach me, and different individuals that realized about the show, because some people have shirts, but they didn't know there was a show associated with the shirts. And so one gentleman told me that what pointers he got from it. So I know men who are listening, definitely encourage you to stay listening and engaged, as well as young adults and women, of course. So we're going to. Oh yes, thank you. See, co-host. The number is 340-719-7436 or 719-7435. So we're going to take a break. When we get back, we're going to go into some tangible tools where parents can identify and either identify or protect their children and not create opportunities for these kind of situations to occur.
Yes.
Okay, so stay with us. We'll be right back. Okay. So Brooke says, this is my sweet friend Milagros live in St. Croix. And Concepcion Rivera Pinca says he's watching live. So thank you for tuning in, and please share. Can you turn it on? Turn up the volume.
This is also Kisma's birthday bash, so come party with the Starlight Crew and dance to the sounds of DJ Carl with Selecta Koof, Big Cat Sound, Syndicate, and Super Tracks International. Ladies get in free all night long, and guys you pay 10 before midnight. It's Sexy Saturday and Kisma's birthday bash this Saturday night at St. Croix's #1 spot for mature vibes and entertainment, the Starlight Lounge Bar and Nightclub.
Goes fast.
Yeah.
As we go through life,
I have 3 breaks.
accidents and illnesses can happen. And as
So we're
the
just
price
gonna
of
go into. I'm gonna let you
healthcare
talk. I'm just gonna
steadily
say.
rises, everyone
So you
should
already
have
talked. He was
access to
physically
appropriate
abused.
health
Sexually abused by his
That's why
father.
you should check your eligibility
Talk about the
for
intention of the
Medicaid
show.
through the Medicaid expansion program. Medicaid is also known
So
as the
what you
Medical
wanna say,
Assistance Program,
what you wanna
or
get out to
MEP. And
parents,
so far, tens of thousands
mothers
of people
about
are newly
accepting
eligible
a
for
man
healthcare
into their
and
life.
prescription drug
Talked about
coverage under Medicaid. Being uninsured
not
is a huge and
like having those
unnecessary
conversations with your
financial risk
children.
that you don't
We
have
talk
to
about the
live
man
with. Check
and
your
having
eligibility for
conversations with your
coverage under
children.
Medicaid by going to the
So I guess
Department of
first
Human
would be
Services.
like
For more
not creating
information,
opportunity,
you can go to the
and how do we not
Marcy
create an
location on
opportunity
St.
by
Croix or
educating our
calling
children
772-7100.
and by being
In
I don't
St.
even
Thomas,
want to
go
say
to the
again,
Hanson
creating
location
an
or
opportunity
call
because
774-09.
predators are predators,
Is brought to you by the
and they're gonna come after you regardless.
So what should it
But
be
I
worded?
think that we need to be conscious and aware to
special education program.
have safe space for our children. That means we are vigilant. Rather than, okay, so now you created an opportunity and I'm gonna take it.
So what you were telling me, because you were telling me that not leaving your children.
Yeah, but then we can include that without.
Okay, so we just say how to be
Yeah.
vigilant in protecting your children, preventing
Yes.
or identifying.
Yes.
Okay. And I'll leave it to you to
Yes.
expand it.
Yes.
So we'll talk about that when you talk about who they choose as a partner, talking to the children. And then another one we had, establishing clear boundaries. And then we're talking to the behaviors of the child. Were you exhibiting behaviors that, like,
I was very, very shy. I was crying a lot. I would bite my nails until I bled. Yeah. It's like sometimes somebody would come to the door and knock and I would run to my bedroom. It's like I wanted to hide.
what about in school?
In school I was, it's almost like I had a double life because I used to write for people. I used to write poetry.
Ready. Good afternoon and welcome back. You're listening to I'm Making It Happen on 103.5 FM with yours truly, Nykole Tyson, and we are speaking in conversation with Milagros Romero. She is a survivor of physical and sexual abuse, and she shared her story previous to the break regarding her abuse that she endured from her mother and the sexual assault that she experienced from her stepfather. Now we want to talk about how we can help parents to stay vigilant,
Yes.
and tools that they can use to identify or prevent.
Yes.
something like
Sometimes, unfortunately, it's hard and difficult to prevent certain things because we are very trusting people, especially when we are entering a relationship. We want this person to like us and love us, so we open ourselves to them. And sometimes we move a little too fast or want to expose our children. Sometimes I found that a lot of women want their kids to have a daddy, to have a father in their lives. And so they bring the kids into the relationship. And this man wants to be a father because that is what you want for your child. And I think we need to teach the kids about healthy touch, which I'm sure Isaac was expressing during their interview here. I'm sure they mentioned it. And it's very important to keep conversation open for our kids and not make them feel like they're doing or saying something wrong, regardless of how alarming it is. Because sometimes when a child says something, our reaction could cause them to not want to speak to us,
yes, I agree.
you know?
Yeah.
So and it's hard because if your child is telling you something that you know is alarming, of course, you know, you want to save your child, you want to protect your child, but your reaction, sometimes I talk to myself a whole lot because I want to make sure that I appease myself. Even if you have to take a moment away from your child when your child tells you something that is alarming, do not scare them. Do not yell at them. Do not blame them. We're talking about children, and yes, children are very intelligent, but still, we are all vulnerable.
Yeah, and their emotional state is still vulnerable. They're
Yes.
still figuring things out, and if like I know you told me in our conversation before that when your mom found out, then she wanted to make it public. She made wanted you to tell other individuals, and that kind of prevented you from wanting to express because that's a hard topic to just blurt out or talk
Yes,
about. And so it's
yes.
very important that you're careful of how you address your child if something like this happens.
And it wasn't that she wanted to make it public. She wanted to go and tell my grandmother, which my relationship with my grandmother, I always say, it has been or was, because she passed away, was the one constant thing in my life. I never felt rejected or unloved or pushed away in no kind of way. She was not my maternal or paternal grandmother, but my stepfather raised me from the time I was 5 months old. So she was my grandma. And my mother wanted me to express to her, and I think it wasn't so much that she wanted me to go public, but that she wanted to see if I was speaking the truth
Oh.
by sharing it with my grandmother, who she knew I honored. Because I don't think she wanted, especially at that time, it was like she couldn't even process that it was happening. So she wouldn't really want me to go and speak out like that.
When I'm in public, I'm just saying, like, not keeping it between your mother and her to figure out what was
Yes.
happening, but to include other people in that conversation, and that was kind of
Yeah,
hard.
it was more of a threat.
Oh, it's a threat?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was more of a threat than going and sharing or expressing what was going on. To the point that when I did see my grandmother after that night, she didn't even ask me to tell her. So I don't know what the conversation was with my grandma, but that night he returned home. And I guess everything returned to normal except the frequency that things were happening with me. So again, going back to the children, it is very important how we speak to the children, what we tell them, because my mom, you see, okay, I'm just gonna say this cage that you see here, right? Has
Speaking about the book she has in her hand.
yeah, the muted cage. It's really about words that affected me, and many of these words were thrown at me by my mom. And when you speak to a child and you throw these words at them, you are actually throwing seeds that are going to grow. And sometimes these seeds are weeds that choke the goodness in a person, especially a child. And of course, we have good weeds, but you know what I'm referring to.
Right.
That when you speak negatively to a child, you are not giving them an opportunity to really flourish to the best that they can be. So it's important to first of all believe your children. Okay, believe your children. And if you have a child that is problematic and is used to lying, then don't just dismiss it. Keep your eyes open, be vigilant, know where your child is, who is around them. That is very important, because I was not just abused by my stepfather. I was abused by another member of the family. I was raped by my husband at the time. And
So
it
this
was,
is years later, but you talk
Yes.
about how it perpetuates when you
Yes.
experience it as a young person, how it can perpetuate, and you find yourself in similar situations in the future.
yes, even sometimes when we have this thing that my little 3-year-old daughter, this grown guy, oh my goodness, she's so pretty, that's my girlfriend. Well, my girlfriend then. You know, so then you're conditioning this little girl, okay, so this older guy is my boyfriend. He said he's my boyfriend. And it's things that we do unconsciously and so innocently. But those are all seeds. When I was 5 years old, there was this guy that called me his girlfriend. He would walk with me holding my hand, and I was like, oh, I have a boyfriend. Yeah, that's my boyfriend. That's my boyfriend. Thank God he wasn't sexually abusive. But still, then when I was growing up, when older men approached me, it's like, and would call me their girlfriend, that's my boyfriend.
So, what are, in addition to that, thanks for sharing that, like, what are some ways, because we talked about boundaries and we talked about being vigilant.
Yes.
How can we talk with our children about being vigilant themselves and knowing their power?
Well, I'm not a professional in this, so I would suggest that we research. We have DVSAC, who is available and is about prevention. And of course, sometimes we don't want to reach out because then we think people might feel that something is going on. But no, prevention is about it's about doing something before something happens. So we have also the internet that can tell you how to prevent certain things. So there are so many resources, and I don't want to be the one to tell people how to do it. I can tell you, I wish my mom had listened. I wish my mom had noticed, but most of the time, my mom was taking a whole lot of pills. So she would sleep all night. And things happen at night. While she was sleeping, she was knocked out. You know, so this is why I said sometimes, unfortunately, things cannot be prevented always.
So, in regards to that, for me, like for my mom, when I was like about 2, I remember my mom telling me that my private parts were mine, and that she wouldn't even wash them. I had to wash it myself, and that no one could touch my private parts, and that if they did, that I should tell my mother. So that's what I was saying, like, so I was aware from young about
See, but you're
control.
young.
You know, no, I
Yeah,
know.
because
No,
back
I'm just saying-
then, a lot of people were like, we don't talk about this.
Right. So I'm just saying, like, so for that's what does my mom. I don't, and I didn't know the dangers of things, a lot of things, until I got out of school. Like my father wouldn't let me stay over at people's houses and those kind of things like that.
Did you
So
understand why?
I didn't, and I don't
Okay.
think he even explained it. But
Exactly.
as I got out of when I finished high school and talking to people in college and different things I experienced, I'm like, wow, maybe that was the reason. But I was just saying that as a person, as an adolescent experiencing this, what are things that you think would have helped if your mother or somebody had told you about boundaries and stuff?
Well, you said a key thing. Many parents will tell you don't do, don't let, don't allow, but they will not break it down for you to get an understanding. So when you say don't touch that, well, now I want to touch that. I want to know what that is going to do, what you said. So it's taking time and talking to our children and being as open as possible. Kanuma says we don't have nicknames for our parts. Every part is called by its proper name. You know, so it's really opening up to our children. We don't have to scare them, but we need to bring awareness to them so that they understand, you know, your body is yours and you need to respect your body, and everyone else needs to respect it as well. But it's really breaking down rather than don't do, don't say, don't go.
Explain
don't,
more.
Yes.
The reason behind why they want you to do it,
Yes.
not do something.
Yes.
So let's talk about also behaviors. Cause we're in a conversation. And I wish we could like recreate the conversations. Cause whenever we like have these conversations beforehand, they're always so good, and I always.
But they were
try.
long.
Yeah, it
That's
was a
the
long
thing, we had long
conversation, right?
time.
But what are some behaviors you think that they should be aware of? And I always say that individuals shouldn't judge, because even when I finished high school, knowing individuals in school who were acting out, who were always fighting, who were maybe very promiscuous and those kind of things, they were experiencing trauma, you know,
Yes.
sexual abuse. So, and you know, but a lot of maybe officials would write them off as troublemakers and those
Yes.
kind of things. So, what do you have to say about that, the behaviors children may
Well,
exhibit?
That we don't know what a person has gone through, especially children. Sometimes, as you say, we label them. Oh my goodness, that child is horrible. You don't know what in school. I tell my sister-in-law, because she's a teacher, and I tell her, you know, just be patient and try to work with the children the best you can. And she has this loving way of dealing with the kids. So I really admire what she does, because I keep telling her, you don't know what that child experienced the morning, minutes before going to school, the night before. And then they don't have an outlet. Like me, I couldn't express myself at home. So when I went to school and when I was on the outside, I just was very withdrawn, very quiet, always crying, always biting my teeth, my nails, sometimes until they bled. It's like I would stay away from people, you know, but then at the same time, there was another part of me that was very loving. So I always wanted to be around people. As I got a little older, I became the clown in the family, where I always had to be funny because I didn't want people to see me sad.
But you felt sad.
Yes, I was horribly sad. My house, my home was always filled with people. My mom would invite people that had lost their home, or people that came from Puerto Rico or somewhere else and needed a place to stay. She was actually called the social worker, because she would help people find a home, find jobs, and they would stay with us. And sometimes that I would feel so alone, because this is another thing I'd like to share a little about, that when a person is going through a situation and they don't see that someone else has experienced the same, they feel like they're the only one, so you feel so alone. And if you cannot share, then it's even that loneliness is consuming. It's almost like it swallows you.
And that's where depression and
Yes.
thoughts of suicide.
Yeah, so I went through all those things. I tried committing suicide, and Then when I didn't die, I said, well, not even God wants me, because I was so
Oh, wow.
terribly depressed.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And then I was like, and not even Satan wants me, because he would have allowed me to kill myself, but God has a
Deep.
purpose. And it took me a long time, because I just felt like I was alone and I had no one that I could talk to. But I used to find solace and I used to find comfort in loving others. Even this morning I was texting with someone, and she said, you were there for me as a child. And I was a child myself, but I always wanted to protect someone. The craziest thing is that I wanted to have 12 children, and an orphanage, because I used to say, I want to have 12 children and an orphanage, and I'm going to show these kids what love is, how you really supposed to love a child, because I didn't feel love. Not that my mother didn't love me, and even my stepfather. I do not care how people judge what I say about this, but he loved me because he showed me love. And I'm not talking about the times that he was abusing me. When he was well, because, he was good. It's just like my mom. I would have never chosen another mother other than my mother. Because when she was good, there was nobody better than her for me. And when she was bad, it was evil. And she had that duality. And this is what I say, we all have that duality within us. Because I can choose to be a very terrible person. I have a bad temper. It hardly ever flares up. But when it does, it's horrible. And we all have this within us. And people are quick to judge. Even me. When I see something going on, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe. And then I stop myself, because I go inside. What was my behavior? Why was I doing certain things?
So I do want to talk about, even though you experienced all these things, you endured these things, how did you take your power back? And how did you get to where you are now, where you're an author, you're a speaker, and you're just positive and working to influence and inspire those who might have experienced this type of trauma, or that is going through any type of trauma, to know that they can make it happen. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Keep having hope. Keep progressing. How did you get to this point?
Well, number one, my relationship with God. I worked on strengthening my relationship with God, because I realized that He actually is the only one that could really help me. Secondly, writing. Writing was the first tool I used. I went on my laptop or my computer at the time, and I just emptied myself out. It was almost like transferring the energy into the computer. And I wrote every single detail. It took me 7 years to write this book, because every time I confronted an episode in my life where I could have made a different choice, or I could have helped myself to get out of this thing, and I mean the depression, and I'm talking about the stuff within, I didn't know how to, but I blamed myself, okay? But then, again, writing, first my relationship with God, writing, definitely affirmations.
So what are affirmations? I know what they are, but just break it down. Saying positive things to yourself.
Yes.
Right.
Well, the thing is, it was very difficult for me to say, I love myself, because I hated myself. So I started saying, I love myself, and then I would say, no, I don't. And then I would say, yes, you do. Because within us is the Spirit of God. And we are creation of God. And if God can love me, who am I to refuse me?
So when did you decide that God loved you? Because at one point you felt like He didn't, because you tried to commit, suicide, and then. So when did you determine or identify that He did love you?
I didn't think that He didn't love me. I just think that He wasn't showing it to me.
Okay. So
And
when
I
did you
couldn't
identify
understand.
then that He was showing you the love?
When I was 14 years old, my mom was allowing me, actually 13 to 14, my mom was allowing me to go out with a neighbor, And I used to go dancing, and we go disco, fish fry, all kind of stuff. And I'm 13 years old, behaving like a grown-up. I thank God for some of the people that were around me that I wasn't raped, I wasn't engaging in sexual activities, but I was out there. And one day it was like, I just need to do something with my life. I don't know what to do. Anyway, something happened. And I said, where was God? Where were you? I talked to God and I said, where were you when my mom was beating me? When my mom tried to kill me? Where were you when I was getting raped? Where were you when my neighbor was touching me up? Where were you when all these things were happening? Where were you? And it was silence. And I kept asking every day. And one day I felt it in my heart. Without God, I would have never made it. I would have never made it. Yes, He allowed stuff to happen, but He comforted me. He kept me safe. He kept me safe because my mind was so entangled sometimes and so far away. Sometimes I could have just walked away and be like one of the people out there who are lost right now, but I know that His mercy and grace reached me. And it was nothing but the desire that we have and the hunger that we have for God that allow us to see and understand that God lives within us.
Okay, great. Well, I'm glad to hear that. And so what are some of the steps? So we talked about affirmations. So somebody is listening right now
Yes,
who's going through trauma, different types of trauma.
yes.
What are the recommendations, or what do you want to say to them?
Well, I want to say that there is help, first of all. Counseling, go to DVSAC. It's not a scary place. They just want to help you, and they're ready and prepared and equipped to help you. Also, Women's Coalition, and we also have other counselors that, are available. But the work has to begin with us, because if I don't make a choice that I want to get better, that I need help, I'm never going to be able to go and get that help. It's like we were talking before the show, making it happen sometimes is just being able to get out of bed, and don't blame yourself. Do not feel condemnation. It's easy for me to say it, but I experienced all these things, and now I'm 56 years old, and I'm like, oh my goodness, why didn't I think about these things before? That if I continue living in depression and living under this shadow and this oppression, I am still giving power to the people that hurt me, because I'm living for them, because I'm just living as a victim. So I am not a victim. I am a survivor because I survived, but we can go beyond surviving. We can overcome, and we overcome by taking responsibility for our lives. Yes, I was abused. Yes, I was rejected. Yes, I was refused. Yes, I was abandoned. But you know what? I now need to take control of my life. And it's very important to teach our kids to take control of their lives. Let them know, you know what? It doesn't matter what people say about you. It doesn't matter what people have done to you. What matters is how we're going to fix our situation so that we can do better. Because there is life after abuse. And it could be a good life. It doesn't have to be a life where we're still remembering and reliving what we experienced. And sometimes, and I speak by my experience, sometimes we use that as a crutch to not get better, to not move
progress.
Forward.
You keep reliving
Yes,
the past,
yes,
even though as traumatic as it is.
Exactly, we stay focused on the past, and we don't see that the past is just hugging us so tight that we cannot move forward. But we can.
And it takes work every day. And I like what you had said before we forget, her book is named The Muted Cage, and on this Saturday,
Yes.
you have an event at Davis Sack in Science Farm. where you can meet Milagros yourself.
Yes.
It's at like 6 p.m.
It's from 4 to 6.
4 to 6.
And if you come with your book, if you purchase a book, I can go ahead and autograph it for you.
And how much is the entry?
It's $30.
$30, and with the entry you get a book.
Yes.
Right. And then you also get to meet Milagros. She's amazing. Like I said last week in the show, Kanum and I was speaking, and she mentioned you, and then I ended up meeting you at the Rotary meeting.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And then we mentioned you again last week, and then you're here.
Yes.
So definitely
And thank you for having me here.
Appreciate it. Thank you for sharing. I know it's not easy, like you said. Every day you learn out, you get better, or
Yes.
you improve, or it's a work in progress every day.
Yeah, that's something that is very important for people to understand. Progress doesn't necessarily mean you go forward all the time. Sometimes you take 2-3 steps back, and it's okay. I was saying, I do not know how to fail. That doesn't mean that I don't fall. I fall all the time, but I get up every time. So I do not know how to fail, and I don't think that anybody wants to fail. But many times we are made to feel failures because we're doing something and it didn't work out. So, oh my gosh, you failed. She did this, she did that. It's time for us to stop listening to what people are saying and listen within, because we are all equipped, we are all rich inside of us to live a great life, and we can do it. And if we need to come together, well, then we come together. If we cannot do it on our own.
Thank you. And just for people who might just tuned in the middle of the show or the end of the show, want to know, why is her voice changing? She did mention in the beginning of the show that she experienced trauma, and that it's probably maybe due to that.
Yes.
We have a call. Let's see here. Thanks for calling. You're on the air. Hello. Okay.
Oh.
Well, if you try to call back, we can get you on. So definitely the number is 719-7435 or 719-7436. But again, her book is called The Muted Cage by Milagros Lotus Beauty Romero. And she has an event this Saturday at Divisac, which is located, the Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Council, located in Scion Farm. You can go there should be there from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Yes.
on Saturday. It's a $30 entry, but basically it's just a book. You get the book
Yes.
when you enter, and you'll also be able to meet her, and she'll be sharing her story
Yes.
there in person.
I'll be speaking. And again, for those of you that don't know, well, I lost my voice 13 years ago. The first year and a half, I had no sound. And people told me I needed to quit talking because it would hurt my vocal cords. But within, I knew that I just needed to continue talking. It's what I do, and it is why I am here. There is no conversation that is too much for me not to participate in.
And how can they reach you if you want to have you as a speaker or want to get in contact with you about getting your book? How can they get in contact?
They can get in touch with me through Facebook, also Instagram, but I also have my email address, and that is millymiracle77 at AOL.com. That's MILLYMIRACLES77 at AOL.com.
So Millie, MILLY, Miracles 77 at AOL.
Yes.
.com, and as well, she's on Facebook at Milagros
Romero.
Lotus Beauty Romero. Milagros Romero, you can search for her there. And again, her book is The Muted Cage. Just been speaking with her shortly on Monday. We had a conversation. Just had an awesome conversation and a lot of aha moments. And I definitely encourage you to get her book. Go to the event on Saturday. And again, it's going to be at the Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Council in Scion Farm, Divisac's offices from 4 to 6 p.m. on Saturday. And $30 entry, you'll get a book and an autograph signing up for the book. So, one of the last things I wanted to talk about is when we spoke, you talked about it was time for you to win.
Yes.
When did that have that thought come up? And
I was 49, so that was like 7 years ago. I decided, you know what, I've always been about my family, and I've always been about someone else. About protecting other people, about giving to other people, about doing for other people. And I decided it's time for me to take care of me. And it was a hard thing because part of my depression, I realized, and I don't like to say my depression, part of the depression I deal with is that I feel like I have to take care of people, even to an obsessive kind of way, where I just have to be there, and I just have to do, even if I neglect myself. So I had to turn that around. First of all, understanding that if I do not take care of me, I cannot give quality service or help or love to anyone else.
And so that just shows that it doesn't matter your age. You can make it happen. You can change your thought process.
Yes.
You can progress. You can, become something different or somebody different.
Yes.
If you choose to. It doesn't matter your age.
Yes.
And so you decide that at 49, and now you're 56.
Yes.
And you're amazing.
Thank
and
you.
So, and you never know who you're inspiring. So we need everyone. We need you to, make it happen in whatever area in your life.
Yes.
Know that you can not just survive, but thrive. And many times we believe that our power is without, but like Milagros said, the power is actually within. And that's what making it happen is about. We all have our different things that we want to achieve, or have our things that we have to overcome internally.
Yes.
And just know that you can make it happen. We talked about some steps with affirmations, visualization, gratitude,
Yes.
focusing on the positive, and and just with the topic at hand today, for parents, just being vigilant and active in who's around your children, and the behaviors they may be exhibiting,
Yes.
and being proactive and having a conversation
Yes.
with them in regards to their own power.
Yes.
And so before we close out, is there anything else you want to say to the listening audience?
Yes, I love to say, let's not judge each other.
True.
Instead of judging, which of course it's our first nature, but we can pull it back and consider that this person may be going through some serious trauma, and this is what they are now displaying. So let's not be quick to judge and point people, and think that something is just wrong and dismiss it. Something is wrong, and this person might just need a kind word or some kind of help. And if you cannot help monetarily, if you cannot help by giving them something, at least give them a kind word. They might not receive it at the moment because they might not be in the right senses, but still, at some point, that word that you said to them might ring a bell and might be something that can help them later.
Thank you. And we want to say that on Facebook we have a couple of comments saying, "Good afternoon. The book is worth the read." Another person saying, "Love the topics for today." We have people from different locations tuning in on Facebook. So definitely thank you for sharing.
Yes.
And thank you for listening wherever you are. Definitely, again, we encourage you to get her book, The Muted Cage. And if you look on Facebook, you'll be able to see the book. I have it shown a couple of times. It's by Milagros Lotes B.U.T. Romero. And she will be at the Divisac location in Scion Farm, the Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Council's office on Saturday. This is the 6th. On Saturday from 4 to 6. And so, and you'll get a book. Once you use $30, you'll get a book. And so she's an awesome person to meet. And I was excited when I heard about her, then I was able to meet her. And now we have her on the show. So I want to thank you, Milagros, for taking the time to share. I know it wasn't easy, but I'm sure we touched someone
Yes.
with the information or enlighten others. So thank
And
you.
that's all that really matters. That if we can touch one person or even encourage one person, that's the work. That's making it happen.
Thank you. Definitely making it happen. And that's why the show actually always helps me to articulate what making it happen, It's like just internally, everybody has their it.
Yes.
Their it is different. So there you have it. We have heard firsthand from someone who was a victim of sexual abuse and physical abuse, but took their power back and has become a victor, helping others, young women and men, to know that there is hope. And if Milagros can survive and thrive after enduring such horrible abuse as a child, you can overcome anything you're going through too. And so we just encourage you to be empathetic, compassionate in your comings and goings, because you have no idea what people are dealing with internally, and just your way of interacting with them may be a big help to them that day, may be impactful to them. So with that, if you would like to hear a certain topic to be covered, definitely I'm always open, and encourage you to call me at 1-800-653-2614, and or send me a message on Facebook. I'm very active and responsive on the I'm Making It Happen page, or you can visit my website, I'mMakingItHappen.com, and there you can also see videos of Virgin Islanders and various parts of the Caribbean who are making it happen. And I want to thank you for joining us today on I'm Making It Happen with yours truly, Nykole Tyson. And I did want to say your website again. What's your website address? You said you have a website?
No, I don't have a
The
website.
Muted Cage.
The Muted Cage is a page on Facebook.
Oh, okay. Her Facebook page is The Muted Cage.
Yes, just as the book.
Okay, great. So if you want to connect with Milagros, go to The Muted Cage on Facebook.
Yes.
Okay. And so with that, I want to thank our sponsors, Carlos Furniture and the Disability Rights Center of the Virgin Islands, the Medical Assistance Program, and Starlight Lounge. And I want to thank you again, Milagros, as our
Thank you for
guest,
having
taking
me.
the time and sharing. And I want to thank all those who are listening and tuned in, wherever you are in the world, Facebook, online, or in your radios, wherever you are, in any agency, in the car, in the store. I hear about it. I'm very excited and happy that you tune in every week. I hope you're having a great day. I hope you were able to provide value today, and encourage you to tune back in with us next week. We'll connect again on next week Wednesday from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. And until next time, keep thinking outside the box, coloring outside the lines, and remember, it's about you, me, we. So make it happen.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in. So, if you are in St. Croix, go to the Muted Cage event on Saturday. Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Council. Okay? Milagros, you're so awesome.
Thank you. Oops.
Aw. So I keep that in my purse.
Oh, okay.
So I put it in the